Let's do it.
Transforming this 50cc pocket bike to a 93 Repsol GP Replica. RPA Projects teamed up with Pocketbike SA for this how-to video project. We normally do this with brand new stock bikes, but this bike was on a request from a previous client. Let's get started. Step 1. Removing the fairing kit from the bike. This specific bike's bolts and nuts are so rusted, I had to spray Q20 lubricant to loosen them up a bit. Due to these models are manufactured in the East, the panels are a bit flimsy and can break faster than original big bike parts. If you know what I mean. It is not like your average good quality original Yamaha, Honda, Ducati and other popular bike brands, but these bikes are ideal for the price range and for kids riding it and of course, for displaying purposes. After removing all the bolts and nuts, I soaked them in a vinegar mixture to act as a rust remover while I continue customizing the bike. Now that the fairings are stripped and washed, it's time for step 2. Removing and clean all the current stickers from the bike. I use a heat gun on a medium setting to remove the stickers easily, but the sticker still leaves glue on the panels. I remove the glue with spirits, benzene or any good quality glue remover from your local hardware store. Please don't use stronger detergents like thinners or paint stripper on these panels. It might damage the kit. Step 3 is probably the most important step of them all. Sanding and preparing the panels for spraying. If you neglect this part and don't sand it properly, the whole project will be a disaster with a lot of time, effort and materials wasted because you will have to start from scratch again. I use 400 grit water sanding paper with a water and dishwash liquid mixture. 1 teaspoon soap is more than enough for 10 liter water. I don't know if you noticed the crack on the seat area of the main center fairing. I am not going to fix that due to that this bike is only for display purposes in the client's bar and not for riding. The crack will be hidden away under the seat cover. After all the sanding is done and the parts is as smooth as a baby's bottom with no nicks or rough edges, it's time give the parts a bath with clean lukewarm water. After drying with a clean dry rag, it's time for step 4. Spraying primer. I first degrease the parts again with a degreaser and give them a good wipe with a tag rag to remove all the dust particles. I know my garage isn't the ideal spraying booth and look messy as hell, but with small projects like this I make sure that my work area is dust free as possible. Judge me if you want to. It's only necessary to give the parts a light wipe with a tag rag. If you press too hard, it will leave an oil base on the parts and can cause problems while spraying. I use a 1-pack plastic primer because I know the fairings is properly sanded and prepared and it will not be needed for any filler primers and extensive sanding again after all the parts are primered. Usually I only give about 3 light coats and 1 thick coat of primer. Sometimes I do more coats. It all depends if I discovered any flaws on fairings that will need additional sanding and filling, but to save time I try my best to get the sanding perfect as possible. A thing that learned over the years is the importance of drying time between the coats of paint. Especially on these type of plastic. If the intervals between coats are too quick, then the primer will bubble and flake out. Then it's all back to square one with a bunch of swear words in between. Allow at least 10 to 15 minutes drying time on primer between coats. All depending on weather conditions. Step 5. Spraying white. After double checking the parts for any flaws, I give them a scuff with a fine Scotch Brite and give them a good wipe with a tag rag again. 4 coats of brilliant white base coat will do the trick. Base coat is also a 1-pack material and no need to add any hardeners to the paint, only about 15% thinners. Step 6. Start the masking for orange. I use reference photos from my previous projects and from the original Marc Marquez 93 Repsol model as a guideline to do my masking. This step needs a lot of attention to detail to make sure your bike comes out close enough to the original. Rather spend a little bit more bucks on decent masking tape and use clean wrapping paper to cover the sections that need to stay white. The last thing you need is for overspray to creep underneath the masking. It will ruin the final outcome. Don't be shy using masking tape. It is not that expensive. The moment you're getting greedy with tape, then you are starting to look for shortcuts. Take your time and don't rush it. Get your lines as accurate as possible to avoid mistakes. Rather measure a couple of times to make 100% sure your line work is accurate. Finally, the masking is done and it's time to spray again. Give the parts a good wipe again with your tag rag. The orange is also a base coat that I mixed from reference photos. If you are not familiar how to mix the correct colors or rather want to play it safe, then you can go to your local spray shop and let them do the mixing for you with their Pantone colors. I only do 2 light coats and 2 wet coats of the orange, not too wet please. Highly important. Don't forget about the curing time between the coats please. Allow at least 10 minutes in the summer months and 20 minutes in the winter months between coats. Base coat paint dries very quick but rather safe than sorry. Just one more tip. Use your tag rag before every coat, especially if you are spraying in a messy garage like me. Step 7. Time for some red. I usually wait about an hour and a half to 2 hours before I start masking again on freshly painted base coats. I am not going to repeat myself again. Just follow step 6 again for the red and the black, which is step 8. Here is some interesting fun facts about MotoGP while I am busy spraying. Casey Stoner is the only rider to lead every single lap of a race at the Malaysian Grand Prix. What's even better? He has done so 2 times, in 2007 and 2009. A total of 14 riders finished at the podium in the year 2011, making a record in itself. Valentino Rossi is the most successful MotoGP rider of all time with a total of 79 career wins. Each rider gets his own custom-made bike. The engine is also created exclusively for them, supporting the latest top-secret technology/innovations only meant for the drivers to enjoy. MotoGP riders wear soundproof helmets since a MotoGP engine produces a sound louder than 125 decibels, which is ultimately louder than an orchestra. MotoGP bikes contain seamless transmission, i.e. a transmission in which the next gear is already engaged before the present gear is disengaged. It helps the rider to reduce the time involved in gear changing to 0.0064 seconds. During a race, a MotoGP rider changes gears at least 500 to 800 times. During a race, a rider can lose up to 2 liters of sweat and 4 kg of body weight. This is almost equal to having an intense workout for 3 hours. Now we are getting somewhere. The fairings start looking like a Repsol Replica now. It's time for step 9. The clear coat. I use a 2-pack clear which consists of a clear, hardener and thinners. Mixing ratio is 2 parts clear, 1 part hardener and 15% thinners. I suggest that you buy you a decent 2K clear coat because your cheaper versions tends to turn dull and crack after a year or 2, especially if the bike is constant in the outdoors. It is also difficult to get a nice gloss sheen out of a cheap clear coat. Spraying the clear coat is basically the same as the base coat, except that my curing times between coats are much more strict than with the base coats. I wait approximately 3 hours before I start my first coat. Make sure the panels are dust free with your tag rag. Don't even think about skipping this part. You are going to be sorry. Guaranteed. Allow 20 minutes curing time between each coat of paint. I normally give 3 light coats and 3 thick wet coats. It is crucial to strain the clear coat as well through a paint strainer in your spray gun before spraying. You don't want dust specks or any dirt in your clear coat. All your hard work will be for nothing then. The clear finishing coat is done, and the shine is perfect. Let the paint and cure dry for at least 12 hours in warm conditions or 24 hours in cold conditions before even thinking of handling the panels. Step 10. Brand the bike. It's usually easier to do the stickers once the bike is already assembled, but I am so used to doing it at this stage because I supply Pocketbike SA normally with the completed fairings and they assemble the bike again before shipment to the client. Call me a creature of habit. The designs I recreated in Corel Draw to scale from reference photos from the original bike and then print and cut it on a durable printable vinyl. The weeding process is a bit time consuming and boring, but I am used to it by now. If you don't have application or transfer tape, you can use standard masking tape as a transfer medium or apply the solid stickers without any tape. Before applying the stickers, make sure the parts are dust free and clean. I wipe them just with a clean soft cloth to prevent damaging the freshly painted finishing clear coat. Make sure you evenly apply the stickers without creating bubbles or creases in the vinyl. If bubbles appear, you can use a needle or the tip of a sharp hobby knife to prick the bubbles and press them out with your fingers. Sometimes a little bit of heat will help. Pocketbike SA do have majority of the MotoGP sticker kits available in stock, and to size for these models Pocketbikes if you want rather buy the full set than creating the labels yourself. Just visit www.pocketbikesa.co.za or follow the link in the description below. While you busy follow the link, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. You will get more good luck in life if you do so. We are working on more tips and tricks to help and assist you with your pocket bike. From maintenance and services to performance parts to give your standard pocket bike a boost. Finally, all is done and it's time for the last step. Step 11. Assembling. The vinegar mixture that I soaked the bolts and nuts in was not that effective that I hoped to be, but did work in a way and removed majority of the rust for easier assembly purposes. New standard original bolts and nuts are also available from Pocketbike SA. I did clean the framework and the engine a bit but did not re-chrome all the parts due to saving on funds, but surely the client will do it on a later stage. Patience is the name of the game with projects like this. You cannot rush it. Rather take your time and you will be rewarded with a dope looking MotoGP Replica pocket bike. I usually take 3 to 5 days customizing a bike like this. It all depends on design and detail. Sometimes the imported fairing kits needs a little bit more attention due to shipment or factory mishaps. This is probably one of the most popular replicas that I have done over the years. I cannot judge between the 93 Repsol or the 46 Rossi replica which is the most popular. What is your thoughts? Here's to another happy client with one more display edition in his entertainment area. Thank you for watching and remember to visit www.pocketbikesa.co.za for more.
This video was proudly created by RPA Projects, your one-stop shop for all creative marketing, design, art, signage and many more.